We are live on a Wednesday. Good morning. Great show. Bill Schoening, voice of the San Antonio Spurs, will join us this morning. Walter PASACRITA, perennial winner of the Walter PASACRITA Award in media. Lots to talk about. NBA playoffs, a letter from the Spurs owner. Astros win 8 in a row. It's beautiful. Very, very cool. Sam Tobias, you are the first in, man. You are the first in. Welcome in, Sam. Good morning. Better guzzle some coffee while I got a shot. 3 people in. Good morning, 3 people. Woo! Probably plug in my phone. Always a good idea. Sam says, where was this Astros team all season? I don't know, but I'm happy now. And they had a similar start last year before they hit it. Luisa Alanis, good morning. Welcome in. Jesse Bratton, good morning and welcome in. Jerry Lauder, good morning and welcome in. Yes, Jerry, we'll talk about that letter from Peter J. Holt. So many Spurs fans still skeptical and fear-based and with conspiracy theories. Jesse Bratton, all right, you're wearing a Yankees cap on your profile pic there, Jesse. You know I'm no big Yankees fan. I respect the Yankees, all the history, and I mean they're damn good. They beat the Blue Jays last night, as you know. That's a big one. But the hottest team in baseball right now, the Houston Astros, baby. Got to check something real quick. Yankees 6, Blue Jays 5. As the Astros know, those Blue Jays are pretty good. Yeah, Carlos Correa did not play last night. Verlander finishes with 1 hit. Wow. That was in the 8th inning. That would have been so cool if he got the no-hitter last night. Pena, a couple of RBIs. How many RBIs for Jeremy Pena? Jeremy Pena's statistics. 2 RBIs for Jeremy Pena last night. Jeremy Pena's statistics are better than Carlos Correa to start this season. Good morning, Roberto Carlos Gayton. Welcome in, sir. Tracy Bogert, welcome in. Tracy Bogert, chairman of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans, coronavirus deniers, voter suppressors, and Vladimir Putin enthusiasts. Always good to see you. Steve Duraco, the original Rock, the original Italian Stallion, co-founder of the San Antonio Polar Bear Club. Here we go. Going to mute for a moment. Wes Perkins, good morning. Steve Duraco declares the coronavirus is over.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome in. Oh, my goodness. So much going on in the world of sports, and we are all over it all morning long. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, along with the hardest working man in radio, Jeremy Kolok. We got so much to get to this morning. We've got the Astros winning 8 in a row and some major goings on in that win over the Minnesota Twins yesterday. We'll be all over it. NBA playoffs, both games, blowouts of 30 or more last night. Phoenix Suns beat Shannon's Dallas Mavericks 110-80. That was a 30-point blowout. Phoenix takes a 3-2 lead in that Western Conference semifinal. But if that wasn't a big enough blowout, then go to Miami. Miami blows out the Philadelphia 76ers 120-85. My Holmes High School math tells me that's a 35-point blowout. So if you're looking for good, exciting basketball games last night, you did not get them. We will talk about that. The Tom Brady news broke during the show yesterday. We will get into that. And Shannon Salty Sweeney walking out of the building yesterday morning. Jeremy and I had a conversation. Because of the Tom Brady news, in our final segment yesterday, we were beginning to dive into Winning Time, the finale rise of the Lakers dynasty on HBO and HBO Max. So we were kind of cut short because that's my fault. I tried to do too many things in the final segment. So I think at some point this morning, Shannon, we got to dive back just a little bit because it was so damn good. And again, for people who haven't seen it yet, all three of us are in accord and highly recommend it. Shannon, Jeremy, and me. Don't listen to that Don Harris from News 4 San Antonio. Don hates it, but he still watches it. Don is troubled by the inaccuracies. Don probably acts like Jerry West in the show when that show on his television. Don Harris, the sports director at Channel 4 in San Antonio, probably just goes old Jerry West and goes into a crazed rage in his house whenever he sees an inaccuracy in Winning Time. But Shannon, I think among other things, and so much to talk about today, I think we got to revisit Winning Time just one more time.
Okay. Yeah. And just, there is a road hump to get over, I feel like, in episode 2.
Ooh.
Because episode 1 comes out swinging, episode 2 a little less than, but it's better.
We yes. It's again, stick with it, trust us. And I get so many Spurs fans, and we got to talk about Spurs fans today after the letter from Chairman Peter J. Holt to Spurs fans yesterday. But Shannon, I get so many Spurs fans going, but I hate the Lakers. I'm not gonna watch a show on the Lakers. I'm a Spurs fan. Go Spurs, dude, or dudette. Come on, it's trust me. It's high drama. It's sports. It's everybody you know, from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Magic Johnson to Larry Bird to Dr. J to Jeannie Buss to Jerry Buss, Chick Hearn. I mean, it's classic. It is classic. And that's one thing. And again, we'll move on to the other stuff in a moment. But one thing we really haven't touched upon a lot, as badly as Jerry West is portrayed as a raging madman and lunatic and just hot under the collar and flies off the handle, I got to believe Larry Bird is not appreciating his portrayal as a crude, vulgar hayseed from French Lick, Indiana, who treats everybody like dog crap. I got a feeling Larry Bird's not digging it.
Now, why have we heard from Larry Bird? Because
great question.
I have 2 thoughts on that, and that could be because it's right, and he's like, whatever. I'll just let people maybe think that isn't me because everyone else is coming out and saying that's not how I was. Or it's completely out off base, and he just is enjoying it as the TV show that it is, and so doesn't care to comment.
And any of the above could be accurate, but another reason to watch that show is Larry Bird, the way he is portrayed. All right, Shannon, so much to talk about this morning. Let's start with your Dallas Mavericks, who seemed
we don't have to do that.
Well, just we'll get some comments from you, and then Jeremy, although his Memphis Grizzlies did not play last night, we hear that Ja Morant probably gone for the rest of the playoffs, which is so god awful because we were talking about this was like his coming out party. We knew Ja Morant was great, but this playoff was demonstrating, these playoffs, including the first round, were demonstrating that Ja Morant is a bona fide superstar, and we need to start mentioning his name when we mention any superstar in this league, from Kevin Durant to Steph Curry to Joel Embiid to Giannis. But we'll talk about that. But it was at Phoenix last night, so Phoenix was favored, but I sure didn't see a 30-point 110-80 beatdown coming after the way the Mavericks played in games 3 and 4.
No, and a beatdown it was in all categories. That largest lead for the Suns was 30, which ultimately was the difference at the end of the game. Mavs did have an 8-point lead at one point, but for as well as they played at home, I don't know what they left behind, but they certainly didn't take it with them to Phoenix. And in all categories, you go down that stat sheet, and the Mavericks just did not have it. Shot horribly from field goal last night, and just bad all the way. I mean, it looked like in both games, a team's like your middle of the season, and it's a team that you're already aware that will make a deep run in the playoffs versus the bottom of the barrel team who is already, thinking about the draft and what their net moves for next year are going to be. That's not what we want in the playoffs. We want close games every time. And so these blowouts yesterday were disappointing on both fronts.
Yeah, the networks and the league. I mean, usually if there's 2 games, and again, we got 2 more games tonight, Bucks at Celtics, that one's tied 2-2. Warriors at Grizzlies, that's 3-1 Warriors. But if you get 2 games on a given night in the playoffs, at least one of them's usually a good game. I don't remember 2 30-plus point blowouts on the same night. So that was kind of ugly. Jeremy Kolok, your Grizzlies try to stay alive tonight at the FedEx Forum. That's the late game on TNT against the Warriors. It is an elimination game. And the news yesterday with that bone bruise, Ja Morant will not, or in all probability, will not return for these playoffs, which could end tonight for your Grizzlies. How you feeling?
Yeah, it not the best, but we're chilling today. Things could always be worse. You hate that for Ja Morant, and I mean, just as a basketball fan, you never want to see a player get injured in the playoffs, right? We're taking away from the product then, especially a player who is trying to kind of prove himself early in his career to be that superstar. And, it's been a fun ride this far with this young Grizzlies team, but I think the road probably ends tonight here sooner rather than later. And that's all right. That's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. And, for the Grizzlies' sake and, for the Mavericks' sake coming up in a couple of nights, you don't want to be eliminated on your home court. That's just ugly. So even though, and it's 3-1, it's ugly. You don't want to go down. You want to stay alive. Although I've often heard, a lot of these players, they get in a situation like this and they realize, they're not, in this case, you're down 3-1. You don't have Ja Morant anymore. You're almost in the back of your mind and in the front of your mind, you're going to lose this series in all vast probability. So, do you want to get on another airplane, make another road trip out to San Francisco and play in their house? I know all players play hard and nobody's going to try to lose, but I think maybe you lose a little bit of an edge when you're down 3-1 in an elimination game like this. It might be very, very tough for them. We'll talk more NBA playoffs, but Shannon, big occurrence yesterday, and you had a very interesting reaction, and I felt the same way when I saw the letter to San Antonio from San Antonio Spurs chairman Peter J. Holt, which yesterday, kind of mid-morning, maybe close to noontime, dropped, and your reaction was, I didn't realize there was a need for a letter like this. Ever since the news broke that the Spurs were going to play a couple of games in Austin in the next couple of years and play a game or 2 in Mexico City, there was like a commissioner's court vote in San Antonio a week or 2 ago where they said, well, we will approve 1 season of doing this, but not 2, and we'll revisit it, which I think was kind of crappy because Spurs, we've discussed this many times, Shannon and Jeremy, the 3 of us agree, expanding the market, you're so close to Austin, you may as well tap into that market. And I agree, you may as well tap into Mexico because we're so close to the border. So your initial reaction to this letter was, is it needed yet? To sum up the letter for people who may not have read it, and it's all over the internet, he basically said, the Spurs, we wouldn't be here without the fans. The fans helped build this Spurs franchise to what it is today. He says, I was 12 or 11 years old when the Spurs won their first title in 1999. Of course, he's the son of the Peter Holt Sr., who, along with his wife Juliana, were the chair people of this Spurs team for many, many years. So Shannon, I had seen some Spurs fans go, "Oh, here we go. They're going to leave us for Austin." But I think people who knew better were not concerned.
Right.
I was surprised by the need for this letter, as were you. We've had, 18 hours or so to digest it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, my initial reaction was, okay, that's nice, but why? It's almost like you're getting ready to play a sport, and your friend goes, "Hey, don't worry, you're going to do great." And you're like, "But I wasn't worried. Should I be worried? Should I be worried?" The pessimist in me is like, were they maybe looking behind the scenes to see what moves might be makeable, and then they decided against it, and so they're now saying, no, we're here to stay. It's going to be okay. I maybe me being in Austin, I didn't realize how much of a fuss some folks were maybe making about this. This seems like it's real. This seems like this is going to happen sooner rather than later, that the Spurs are going to pick up and pack up and go somewhere else. But just kind of an odd thing to see drop on a Tuesday morning, especially when, all things considered. We just talked about how they're looking to play elsewhere to help grow the brand. Why would we go through all this if they're just going to pack up and move anyway? It was just very odd, Chris, and I feel like there's some conspiracies as to why this took place and when it did.
Yeah, and Spurs fans and San Antonio sports fans in general, and again, I'm a San Antonio sports fan. I've been a Spurs fan since they came to town in 1973. My friend Steve DeRocco, The Rock, who also serves as our official Triple Crown judge for all things involving our draft and disputes. We were in the Hemisphere Arena as kids in 1973, season 1, watching the Spurs. So, I've paid close attention over the years. But two things. There's a certain segment of San Antonio Spurs fans and San Antonio sports fans in general who have an inferiority complex. Two things I always hear was, "Well, the national media doesn't respect us. All they talk about is the Lakers and the Michael Jordan and the Bulls." It's like, Spurs don't care. Pop doesn't care. This franchise just wins. Just win, baby. They put they're pounding the rock. They got their nose to the grindstone, and they just win games. And they've just had an incredible record of winning games over the years. And even pre-Pop, the Gervin era, generally this Spurs franchise has just won a lot of games. And then the other thing I always hear, when there's a chance of an NFL franchise, when an owner is just exploring San Antonio or another franchise is floundering and there's a suggestion, hey, maybe we look into bringing an NFL franchise to San Antonio. You always, "Oh, they just use us. They just use us as a pawn to build a stadium." And I always say, hey, man, be proud, make your case. It's just like the soccer fans for MLS. "Ooh, Austin took our MLS." Then be undeniably a great soccer city.
Yeah.
Show up, kick ass, and demonstrate why this city is a great sports town. Demonstrate why we should have an NFL franchise, and be proud of the Spurs. Shannon, I've just seen so many Spurs fans over the years with these lame conspiracy theories and gripes and groans. And now, after the Tim Duncan era, now that we've kind of, had a little bit of a down couple of years, which is normal in every sport with every franchise ever. "Oh, Pop needs to go. What's wrong with Pop? If he paid more attention to basketball than politics, maybe we'd win more." There's just some stupid, ignorant fans out there. That's I've seen it too much.
You're the parent of San Antonio this morning, Chris. You're the guy that is telling your kid, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just focus on you and what you can control. You have this soccer team. You have the Spurs. You've got this wonderful city. Put everything you have into that and continue proving why you are such a great sports town. And maybe one day the other things that you want to see there will occur. And maybe we won't have to have, every time a Spurs team takes a slump, this worry and conversation and need to release from, Mr. Holt, a written statement on a Tuesday to say, "Hey, everyone, it's going to be okay. Calm down."
So weird. And yet, I even after the statement, Shannon, I said, "Well, I'm sure Seattle got one of those from their owners before the Supersonics moved." And then somebody tweeted me and goes, yeah, that's what an owner says when he goes, I'm fully backing our coach. Our coach is going to be the coach for the long. So there's no pleasing some of these people. We're going to talk more about this throughout the show and later in the show. Sure. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, going to join us at 8:05. And I brought on because Walter may disagree with us on this. Walter may still think Walter PASACRITA, longtime broadcaster, longtime reporter covering the Spurs over the years upon multiple radio platforms. I thought it'd be a good day to bring in Walter at 8:35 to get his take on this and everything else in the world of sports. Coming up, I think you're really, really, really going to like the high five play of the day. In fact, I think the most deserving person in sports yesterday and last night is getting the high five. Nope, it's not Tom Brady. It's somebody else. But we will talk Tom Brady because that story broke in the 8 o'clock hour yesterday, and we were all over it yesterday, and we'll dive back into it. So we'll talk NFL. The schedule drop is only a day away. That'll be tomorrow on the NFL Network and Fox Sports 1. More on the NBA playoffs, more on the Spurs, college football, college sports, and more. Shannon Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays. And coming up, we will tell you how you can be a part of the show, either on the phone lines, on the live video feed, or the talkback feature on the free iHeartRadio app. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok makes the whole show go. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Little Rolling Stones on the way out. Beth Settle, good morning. Let's see who we see. We saw Sam Tobias first. Oh, that's loud. Jesus, that's loud. Luisa Alanis, good morning. Jesse Bratton, I'm willing to forgive you for being a Yankees fan. Jerry Patty Lauder, Tracy Bogert, Roberto Carlos Gayton, Steve Duraco, Wes Perkins, John Williams from Dallas, Anthony Del Toro. Yeah, Anthony, you messaged me last night that Justin Verlander was working on a no-hitter deep into that game. Chris Duel is in here. Look at that. Woo. Beth Settle. Good morning, Beth. Hector Gomez, the pride of Central Catholic High School. All right, let's see. How am I doing on? I think I'm going to grab some more coffee, but I think it's still hot. And I need to record some spots. So I might just bang some out right now. Thank you, Sam. Coffee run number 400. Much appreciated. See, I did R&R Auto Glass already. I did that yesterday. There it is. Big Bib Barbecue. All right. I got to do 5 30-second Big Bib Barbecue commercials. So I apologize in advance if this gets redundant. I'm going to record some spots. Thank you, sir. All right.
Most patients return to normal activities the next day. Want to see better? See better? Schedule your free consultation at the LASIK Vision Institute. The LASIK Vision Institute.
Chris here for the Big Bib Barbecue, Austin Highway at Lanark. It is delicious, true Texas-style barbecue. Get in there, get your rub on. Brisket, baby back ribs, rib tips, pulled pork, mild and jalapeno sausage, turkey, chicken, catfish, delicious side dishes, full service, family friendly, a San Antonio tradition since the year 2000. Check out the website. All the info is there. TheBigBib.com. The Big Bib Barbecue. One down, 4 to go. Chris here advising you to get your rub on at the Big Bib Barbecue, Austin Highway at Lanark. True Texas-style barbecue, full service, family friendly. I'm talking brisket, baby back ribs, rib tips, pulled pork, mild and jalapeno sausage, turkey, chicken, catfish. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Get in there, dine in, carry out, and catering. They are fantastic. All the information is at the website, thebigbib.com. It is a classic, the Big Bib Barbecue. 3 more. Do you love great barbecue? I got to tell you where to go. The Big Bib Barbecue, Austin Highway at Lanark. Get your rub on with delicious brisket, baby back ribs, rib tips, pulled pork, mild and jalapeno sausage, turkey, chicken, catfish, delicious side dishes. This is true Texas-style barbecue, full service, family friendly. All the information is at the website, thebigbib.com. Get your rub on at the Big Bib Barbecue, Austin Highway at Lanark. I love the Big Bib Barbecue, Austin Highway at Lanark. Get in there. It's delicious. Get your rub on with brisket, baby back ribs, rib tips, pulled pork, mild and jalapeno sausage, turkey, chicken, catfish, delicious side dishes. Oh, my goodness. True Texas-style barbecue, full service, family friendly, dine in, carry out, and catering. Everything you need to know is at the website, thebigbib.com. Austin Highway at Lanark. Delicious. The Big Bib Barbecue. All right, one more. Do you love barbecue? You got to get into the Big Bib Barbecue, Austin Highway at Lanark. True Texas-style barbecue, full-service, family-friendly. Get your rub on with brisket, baby back ribs, rib tips, pulled pork, mild and jalapeno sausage, turkey, chicken, catfish, delicious side dishes, a San Antonio tradition since the year 2000. Dine in, carry out, and catering. Go look at the website. All the info is there. TheBigBib.com, the Big Bib Barbecue. All right. Sorry, that was redundant. I needed 5. Did them all in one take. I usually screw up at 6:34 in the morning. Let's see. Do I have time to guzzle coffee? That's right, Sam Tobias, my HEB brand Cody coffee strato tanker. Cody, because I work in radio and I can't afford Yeti. Cody's, by the way, also a great bar and burger and taco joint at Port Aransas. Many years ago, it was on the beach at Port Aransas. Now it is a little more inland. But I recommend what were they? I think they were mahi fish tacos at Cody's. Exactly. Let us guzzle coffee, Sam Tobias. Thank God for caffeine. I'm a coffee achiever, like former Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Ken Anderson and the late great rock and roller David Bowie. If you don't believe me, there's a YouTube out there somewhere. 1981. Coffee achievers. People were not buying enough coffee, so coffee growers and coffee merchants in America did an average. This was pre-Starbucks. Well, Starbucks existed, but Starbucks hadn't blown up yet. I think Starbucks was founded in 1971, but only had a couple of stores in Seattle or wherever. It wasn't. Coffee was not the thing it was or it is today back then. Exactly. Sam Tobias, coffee because management frowns upon cocaine and crystal meth. But Elon Musk is reportedly going to buy Coca-Cola and put the cocaine back in the Coca-Cola. True story. Back in the early days of Coca-Cola, one of its active ingredients was cocaine. People loved their Coca-Cola. It made them feel good. Gave them a little extra pep in their step. Here we go. Woo! Woo! Woo!
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Welcome back. Welcome in. Good morning on this Wednesday, May 11th. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. The man spinning the tunes for your enjoyment and edification is the one and only Jeremy Kolok, the pride of Oklahoma State University, hardest working man in radio, chief meteorologist of this show, and a certified Memphis Grizzlies fan. Thank you very much, Jeremy. All right, before we get to the high five play of the day, which is very appropriate, I think the athlete most deserving of a high five in the last 24 hours is the one we selected. Okay, getting in touch with the show. Lots of people already joining us on the live video feed. We invite you. You're not only interacting with us live and in real time, but some very, very cool people from across the great state of Texas and around the world. Access that via Facebook Live, the pages of AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. Same thing with the Twitter accounts for those radio stations. You can see the live video feed there, and also on YouTube, the Ticket 760 YouTube page. You can access the live video feed. We always love it when you leave us, and especially Spurs fans, if you, or even non-Spurs fans, if you agree or disagree with us that Spurs aren't going anywhere, and the Spurs haven't been planning to go anywhere. There's a lot of you out there who still do not believe that the Spurs are just going to stay put in San Antonio. One of the ways you can sound off is leave us a message with your thoughts, your take on that. The free iHeartRadio app, where we are always crystal clear. There's a microphone button at the bottom of the page. It is the talk back button. You press it, you leave a message, you then press send. We get it instantly. We will play it on the air. And if we disagree with you, we will humiliate and mock you publicly on the radio. No, we won't. We're very nice human beings most of the time. So let's see, there's that. Oh, phone number. We invite your phone calls, even though it's not even sunrise yet. You can call us 800-707-9760. That's the phone number, 800-707-9760. Couple of great guests this morning in the 8 o'clock hour. Bill Schoening, voice of the San Antonio Spurs, who is our NBA analyst, who's been calling a lot of baseball games lately. fact, I may have to get Jeremy. Maybe we'll play one of Bill's calls that I found online a few days ago, calling baseball. He's as good of a baseball play-by-play guy as he is basketball, and he's darn good basketball-wise. And 8:35, the return of Walter PASACRITA. Be very afraid. Hide your women and children, because Walter can, sometimes agitate and irritate, but he's very funny, entertaining, and insightful. We love Walter PASACRITA. A little bit later in the show. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, how is life in Houston going for you? You're in Houston this week.
So, as we know, the Astros played the Twins last night, and I thought this game has to be on TV where I can get it.
God.
I'm in Houston. It's the first game where they face off against Carlos Correa, and no. And so we took a lot of time trying to find the game via the FM and AM airwaves, looked up the stations, and I don't want to poke fun at our iHeart sister stations in Houston, but they were having technical difficulties. So the only feed we could get for the first couple of innings was in Spanish, which sounded fantastic, but did not, we know.
That's why we got to learn Spanish. That's why we gringos have to learn Spanish, man.
It was a struggle. So I was able to listen to most of the game last night until I ultimately fell asleep. But man, I want to watch the game. I think we found out that the first game we can watch is the Friday's game. I'm not sure who they're playing, but that's going to be on ESPN Plus. So I will have access to finally watch them while in Houston.
My gosh, it is so amazing. I mean, I complain because of the big fan bases in San Antonio and Austin who want to see Astros games, and they make it so difficult. In Houston, hard to find the Astros in Houston on TV. Now, as we found out, Carlos Correa did not play last night for the Minnesota Twins with he's got a banged up hand. I think his hand was hit with a pitch. So we'll see it again if he'll play tonight.
Convenient.
Really convenient. By the way, Jeremy Pena, the shortstop replacement for Carlos Correa. So far this season, his stats, batting average, hits, home runs, he is performing better than Carlos Correa. So I think that's pretty cool. Speaking of the Houston Astros, in their win last night, something special happened. We're going to get to that right now as part of the High Five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. I'll bet you they've got Astros games on the big screen TV at High Five. They have probably figured it out. Everybody else, it's not so easy, but they are sports broadcasting geniuses at High Five. All the big games you want to watch on the big screen TVs. Great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials, a gazillion games you can play, from bowling to laser tag to axe throwing to zombie dodgeball and more. They got it all going on. They're just like Stacy's mom. High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. Get in there and enjoy. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney from the city of Houston this morning. Who is most deserving of a high five?
Well, a huge player in last night's game and 5-0 victory against the Twins was none other than pitcher Justin Verlander. We talked about it yesterday that he was getting the start. He's had a good season thus far, and for the 8th time in his career, he took a no-hit bid into the 8th inning. Not to mention that led to the Astros' 8th straight win. He was rightfully not only deserving of our high five, but also the Astros named him their player of the game last night.
Wow. Justin Verlander coming off the injury that had him out for something like 18 months, Tommy John surgery. And a lot of people at his advanced age thought Justin Verlander is never going to be the same Justin Verlander again. Well, so far, Justin Verlander is the Justin Verlander we remember. He came into the game last night, and I'm scrolling through his he came into the game last night with like a 1.83 ERA. He's now got a 1.55 ERA after that shutout. He is 4-1, Shannon. He pitched 8 innings, allowed 1 hit. They got a hit on him in the 8th. Yeah. As you mentioned, it was a 5-0 win for the Astros over the Minnesota Twins. Had they not gotten that hit, I imagine Dusty Baker, unlike that Dodgers manager
no.
who pulled a guy out with a perfect game not long ago. I imagine Dusty Baker, and what a statement that would have been, Shannon,
Yeah.
if he got a no-hitter last night, coming off the major injury. Justin Verlander, so cool to see. And these Astros now 8 in a row, Shannon, they were 4-1 to start the season. Then they really floundered. But he, Justin Verlander and these Astros have found a way. Justin Verlander is 39. I thought he was like 37, 38. I just Googled him. He is 39. He turned 39 on February 20th. Shannon, and darn near got a no-hitter last night.
Yeah, he threw 89 pitches. So like you said, I think Dusty would have been more than happy to keep him in had that one hit not have occurred. 63 strikes. And, time flies when you're off the field after Tommy John surgery. You still continue to age. Your baseball career may be paused, but your age keeps going up. But he's incredible. So happy to have him on our roster. And, he'll be one of those guys. I know he's still very much known as a Detroit Tiger, but when he does finally decide to hang it up, he'll be greatly missed. And I think worthy of whatever the Astros version of their Hall of Fame is for what he's done for this team.
Yeah. And not only the Astros version, but I got to believe he's a slam dunk for the Hall of Fame. His career record is 230 and 130. So he's 100 games above 500 as we speak with that win last night. 230 and 130 on his career. As you mentioned, he was with the Detroit Tigers from 2005 to 2017. Now with the Houston Astros, won that World Series with the Astros, making him, that was the first, he didn't win a World Series with the Tigers, which is one of the reasons he left, right before that trading deadline in 2017, but an 8-time All-Star. He was the 2011 American League Most Valuable Player, a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. He was the American League Rookie of the Year in 2006. He was the ALCS MVP during the Astros World Series run in 2017. And 5 times he was the American League strikeout leader. And by the way, he has pitched 3 no-hitters in his career, 07, 2011, and 2019. So my God. And Shannon, all of that, and he's married to Kate Upton. Life is good. Life is good for JV, Justin Verlander.
It's unfortunate. Very few people could watch him do what he did last night. I think, when listening to a call via radio, you listen for the crack of the bat. And that wasn't happening a lot last night with Verlander, which is good as an Astros fan, but it's much harder, I think, at least in my mind, to picture and appreciate what a pitcher is doing out there when he has a game like Justin had last night.
Now, Jeremy Kolok, you have gone on the record, and we do forgive you, saying that you're not an Astros fan. You are forgiven, although you will be mocked. But you have said this Astros team is so much fun. You don't enjoy searching for their games. You enjoy when you find their games after going through hell just to find them on television or radio.
Yeah, well, it's almost like a little challenge, like a little game, like apart from the game of baseball. Like, I wonder if I can find the Astro game tonight. But they're apart from that, apart from how difficult they are to actually watch them on television, they are such a fun team. I love Jeremy Pena. I love your updates every morning on how, they've been playing. They're the best team in baseball right now as far as this little streak they're on.
Yeah.
And as far as Verlander, I'm completely with y'all. I think he is probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. And, if we didn't have a guy named Clayton Kershaw, then Verlander would probably be the best pitcher of the current generation right now. He's up there.
Whoa. Interesting about Jeremy Pena, Jeremy and Shannon. We all have been saying, and it's accurate, Jeremy Pena, oh my God, he's a rookie filling the shoes of Carlos Correa. Jeremy Pena is only 3 years younger than Carlos Correa. Jeremy Pena broke in this year later than Correa did in his career. Interestingly, they're born on the exact same day, 3 years apart. Their birthday is September 22nd. And as I mentioned, the current statistics this year, Jeremy Pena has better statistics for 2022 so far than Carlos Correa does. However, they did look at like the first, whatever, let's see, we're at like 28, 29 games now for the Astros. They did look at like the first 28 games of Peña's pro career with the Astros and Correa's pro career with the Astros. Correa was better out of the gate, batting average wise, hits wise, home runs wise, and other stats out of the gate. But as of right now, in my mind, Shannon, it was like, oh my God, Peña's a rookie. I was thinking, wow, he's probably like 20, 21. He's 24 and Correa is 27 exactly, because they're born on September 22nd. So age-wise, experience-wise, yes, there's a gulf of experience in the bigs, different from Correa to Peña. But age-wise, they're only 3 years apart. And I'm losing Shannon's audio
sorry.
there.
Sorry
there you
about
are.
that.
Okay.
Got you back. Yeah, Jeremy Peña so far, he has a lot to live up to, and so far he's doing a great job. It's interesting. I wonder what his mindset was when he realized that he was the next guy up. But he's been playing incredible. I was just watching. He had an incredible slide into home. The aerial view of that slide. Then, by the way, he goes by. He's got a nickname, Chris. We need to respect that nickname of JP3 is what they are calling him in the Astros world. And he's got some incredible moves, and lucky to have him. I wish Carlos Correa played last night because I'd love for him to get that win against a guy like Carlos Correa with him in the lineup, so that's not an excuse against the Astros.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. There's a lot to love about him. And I think with what we've seen out of him, if he has a slump, and I'm sure he will because most players do go through it at some point in their career, we have to remember how he started and that he is capable of that, and not, blame, oh, he's not Correa. Oh, he's not the guy for the job kind of thing.
Yeah, 2 RBIs last night of those 5 runs for the Astros. And as you say, Shannon, I wish Correa would have played last night to have seen him go hitless against Verlander, which he probably would have, the way Verlander was pitching.
Yeah.
That would have been fun. But it gives us something to look forward to tonight. Maybe Correa. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the morning to see if there's any updates from the Minnesota Twins on the status of Carlos Correa. We got a lot more to talk about. We'll continue to talk about the interesting situation involving the Spurs and the letter yesterday to San Antonio from Spurs chairman Peter J. Holt, in reaction to that, including reaction from Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs at 8:05. Walter PASACRITA, the perennial winner of the Walter PASACRITA Award in Media, at 8:35. He'll join us. Shannon's Salty Shakedown in the upcoming hour, sports history, sports birthdays, and more. We'll dive back into the NBA playoffs, and let's talk some football coming up on the Chris Duel Show. Oh, that's loud. All right. Do I have enough iced tea? Just fill up what is that, like 64 ounces, maybe 44? I don't know. It's a lot of iced tea. I drink a lot of beverage. Did somebody say ice? Thank you, Sam Tobias. I should display cardboard. Did somebody say ice? Oh, that's loud. I should display cardboard breggy more prominently. I should probably do some more spots. I might rapture you from these. see. I need to check something. Anyway, give me some Alex Bregman here, if we can. Cardboard Breggy. How did Bregman do last night? Alex Bregman, 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Very nice. A double to deep left and a sacrifice fly that scored Jeremy Pena. Very nice. Okay. Michelle Johnson, good morning from Marysville, Kansas. All right, I need to check the copy on QC Kinetics. Where's my copy? Precision Medicine. I think it's the same one. All right. Back in a sec. Let you enjoy some Jeremy Kolok for your viewing pleasure. Woo! Woo! Jesse Bratton, what is up? Jesse Bratton, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! All right. So I'm going to do that. Maybe at the bottom. Sam Tobias with some scheduling information. Did this just break or not? I'm not sure. Sam, is that breaking news? Do you see it posted somewhere? All right. Okay, I'll throw to you for that then. And we'll credit Sam also, but I'll throw to you, Jeremy, to break that news. Okay. Thank you, Sam. You get a producer credit for the 7 o'clock hour. And Anthony Del Toro, we will put that your Pax Curse will host the Cowboys November 13th. Thank you, sir. Mike McCarthy's return to Green Bay. Wow. If we're lucky, maybe McCarthy will be gone by then. Maybe it'll be Dan Quinn's debut in Green Bay. Remember, Wade Phillips was fired after getting blown out in Green Bay. Maybe it goes that way. But thank you. And again, this is why I love having you guys and gals on the live video feed. You caught that before we did. Certainly, Sam Tobias. It would have taken us a few more minutes to see it, probably. So we appreciate that. So we will give producer credits to Sam Tobias and Anthony Del Toro, but we will send Anthony to a remedial spelling course. Of course, I went to Holmes High School. My spelling, not exactly. I don't think I ever won a spelling bee. That's what we need to have on this show, a spelling bee. Like me, Shannon, Jeremy do a spelling bee. That would be riveting sports talk radio. You don't get enough spelling bees on sports talk radio. Woo! Late game. I like it. The nation will tune in. And if Aikman and Joe Buck didn't jump ship, we'd have had Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on that broadcast. Thanks for nothing, Troy. And by the way, your beer is pretty tasteless. I wanted that beer to taste good. 8. Maybe 9. Romo's beer will have more flavor. Good job, Anthony. I appreciate it. That's not a bad idea. David Munoz to MC our spelling bee. Spell onomatopoeia. Thank you. First, use it in a sentence, and then spell it. Woo! Okay, here we come. 7 o'clock hour. Got to mute sound a little bit for our evil Facebook overlords, destroyers of all that is good. And I swear to God, Mark Zuckerberg is an android or not human. Look at that guy. That's not a human face. Not today, Zuckerberg. Not today, Putin and your Russian bots.
Now, Chris Duel.
Oh, my goodness. In just a few moments, we will have some breaking Dallas Cowboys news for you. We're moments away from that. It just broke. We'll let you know what it is. We'll react with you instantly and in real time. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Astros win 8 in a row. Justin Verlander takes a no-hitter into the 8th inning. We gave him our high five play of the day just minutes ago. Both NBA playoff games, blowouts last night. The NFL schedule will drop tomorrow night, 7 o'clock in its entirety. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on the NFL Network and on Fox Sports 1. But we got us, and it involves the Cowboys, some breaking news. Let's go to Jeremy Kolok for that breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed an urgent news story. Stop what you're doing and listen.
Well, Chris, Shannon, we are getting more nuggets out of the NFL schedule.
Denver Nuggets?
No, just little
nuggets.
Little nuggets out of the NFL schedule as more games get released in anticipation for the full schedule release, which is this Thursday, I believe. But it was announced this morning that our Dallas Cowboys will be traveling to Green Bay in Week 10 of this season to face the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field on Sunday, November 13th. And this will be Coach Mike McCarthy's first return to Green Bay, of course, since his departure from there as their head coach.
Wow. Breaking news just dropped from the National Football League. America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, led by the Dancing Bear. Does Mike McCarthy have a nickname, Shannon? Just the big lug, the guy who never passed on a cheeseburger. Mike McCarthy. We do need a nickname for Mike McCarthy. Maybe we'll make that our mission. Wow. Mike McCarthy's return to Green Bay. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. It will be November 13th. It'll be on Fox without Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. The late game at 3:25. The nation will be watching. Your instant reaction.
Well, first of all, just a quick Google on Mike McCarthy nickname. Big Mac is what comes up.
Big Mac
goes with your cheeseburger thing.
He's
right?
eating a few. Yes, he's probably eating one right now as we speak.
My initial reaction, because I still have nightmares and flashbacks, and it happens, is similar to what the Dallas Cowboys tweeted in their announcement of this game, saying Dez caught it. Now that we have your attention, the Dallas Cowboys will be heading north for Week 10. This is exciting, whether it would be Week 1 or Week 15, 16, whatever, Week 10, the middle of the season. It's hard to kind of sit here and predict who might have the upper hand, because as we know, injuries do occur. So we don't know what those rosters will look like in Week 10, but just the teams as they are right now, I mean, it's always exciting when those two get together. I really hope that with Micah Parsons and company on that defensive side now, that Aaron Rodgers can't carve up the defense in the way he has in years past.
It's interesting, Shannon, you bring up Dez caught it, that horrible playoff loss to the Green Bay Packers. That was the Tony Romo era's best chance to maybe go to a Super Bowl that year. But that catch is disavowed or ruled incomplete by the refs. So that was a day of horror for the Cowboys. This Lambeau Field goes all the way back to the Ice Bowl, January of 1967, a notorious loss for the Cowboys. They could have gone to Super Bowl II if they'd have won that game. And as I recall, though, and I find this interesting, Shannon, one of the first things that occurred to me as well, in 2010, I don't have the score in front of me, but the Dallas Cowboys were destroyed by the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. And immediately after that game, Jerry Jones fired head coach Wade Phillips. Now, that was the good news because Wade had to go, even though he's a very good defensive coordinator. 45-7. Oh my God. And that Cowboy team was expected to play decently in that game. Packers destroyed the Cowboys 45-7. The good news, Jerry immediately fired Wade Phillips. The bad news, he promoted one Mr. Roboto, the clapper, Jason Garrett, ushering in, let's see what, 2 years ago, that was 2010, ushering in 10 years of absolute additional mediocrity for the Dallas Cowboys. So two things, Shannon, that occur to me. Number one, if we're lucky, Mike McCarthy will already have been fired by November 13th. So maybe Dan Quinn leads or Sean Payton leads the Cowboys into that game at Lambeau, or maybe history repeats itself because Aaron Rodgers is going to be chomping at the bit, smacking his lips, stroking his beard, looking forward to just sticking it to Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys at Lambeau. I mean, sight unseen now, not knowing how each team, what record they're going to have going in, Shannon, I would have to favor Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers at home at Lambeau in this matchup.
Yeah, and something I think also to consider here, week 10 means that there will be teams in the league that have bye weeks. And so, if one of those teams is coming off a bye week and who might they play the week before, or if they'll even be coming off of a short week, definitely one to circle onto the calendar. I like your, it's again, do we want the Cowboys to suffer so we can get rid of Mike McCarthy, or
Yes!
do we want to see them be victorious? And maybe Mike McCarthy just wants one more. Maybe Mike McCarthy just wants one good season so he can ride off into the sunset once again and then never return.
Yeah, and maybe no matter how he does, Sean Payton, after a year of doing a little television and basking, in Cancun, maybe no matter what, we get Sean Payton at the end of this season. Jeremy Kolok, you are a huge Cowboys fan. You broke this news. Oh, by the way, I do have to say this. During the break, right before this segment began, Sam Tobias posted this breaking news as well on the live video feed, as did Anthony Del Toro. We give producer credits when our listeners/viewers break news. So producer for this hour and this show today, Sam Tobias, the pride of HEB, and Anthony Del Toro, who, if San Antonio ever gets an NFL franchise and names them the Toros, then Anthony Del Toro will change his last name to Anthony Del Toros. That's official. Jeremy Kolok, as we thank Sam Tobias and Anthony Del Toro for breaking the news with you to start the 7:00 hour. What were your initial thoughts when you heard Cowboys at Lambeau against the Packers on November 13th?
Well, the first thing I thought of was how we were talking about it'll be interesting to see who the Cowboys play week 1 and on Thanksgiving. And then we get this random reveal of a game that is neither one of those, but obviously still a big matchup. And the second thing I thought of is exactly what y'all mentioned about how Aaron Rodgers has been relatively successful against the Cowboys. He seems to play up to that game. Like he finds some special enjoyment in beating the Cowboys, kind of like he seems to do with the Chicago Bears too. But it's the Cowboys. It's the Cowboys name, right? It's America's team. So he seems to play up to that. And obviously, we have our Dak Prescott that will trot out there and do our very best. But just historically, it hasn't been great playing the Packers. So no. I don't love the idea of, before we even have any other games released. I know the Cowboys schedule isn't expected to be too difficult, but this is a little weird to release this one game early. That's neither the first game or the Thanksgiving game, and it's against an opponent that just really, really defeats the Cowboys historically in Aaron Rodgers.
Totally agree, Jeremy. And Shannon, Anthony Del Toro just wrote, Aaron Rodgers owns the Cowboys like he owns the Bears. I got to believe, Shannon, Aaron Rodgers is this morning circling November 13th on his calendar and just licking his chops, getting ready to humiliate Mike McCarthy, whom he vehemently dislikes.
Yeah, he's already just marked that one down as win. His all-time record against the Cowboys, by the way, is 5-3, and his last 2 times against the Cowboys, 2019, 2017, were both wins. So he's got our number for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got that mojo, the Aaron Rodgers ownership of the Cowboys. You've got the Packers ownership of the Cowboys at Lambeau Field. So many things have gone wrong over the years for the Cowboys in that facility. And then you just got Mike McCarthy. All right, he's our leader. Great. Yeah, I'm sure Mike McCarthy also circling November 13th on his calendar this morning. But again, I have zero confidence in Mike McCarthy and more than anything else, when we saw Hard Knocks last year and we saw Mike McCarthy trying to motivate the Cowboys just with his lame, almost reminds me of Winning Time when Paul Westhead is at halftime reading Shakespeare to the Lakers, and they're like looking at each other. What the hell is he saying?
Mojo moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost rather Mike McCarthy read Shakespeare to the Cowboys. I think that would be more effective than the crap he actually does. I hope I'm wrong, Shannon. Prove me wrong, Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys. Go ahead, make my day on November 13th and beat the Green Bay Packers. But I'll believe it when I see it, and I'm not believing it right now at this moment.
No faith in the Big Mac.
No, Big Mac. Perfect name for him. He should be a Big Mac with fries and a milkshake. All right, God. Cowboys. Well, and what's interesting, thank you for that, Coach Gundy. So we do know, and this wouldn't have been the Thanksgiving game anyway because it's at Green Bay. We do know locations of games. We don't know when the games are. But Shannon, as Jeremy was describing, I think this also would have been a great opening night game. First game of the season. Granted, it wouldn't have had Tom Brady. It wouldn't have the defending Super Bowl champion Rams. But Aaron Rodgers versus the Cowboys at Lambeau would have been a cool opening night game as well.
Yeah, and I think I saw that it will be at LA with the Rams. We just don't know yet who their opponent will be, but they'll keep with tradition on that one.
All right. Well, we alluded to this, and we talked about it a lot earlier in the show. This letter from Peter J. Holt to the San Antonio, and he wrote it to San Antonio, I do believe. I don't think he even said to San Antonio Spurs fans. I think it was to the city of San Antonio, and it's getting a lot of reaction on both levels among San Antonio Spurs fans and in San Antonio. And Shannon, for our listeners, do you want to read this, or do you want me to read it? Or I think we should read it just to look specifically at what Peter J. Holt had to say yesterday.
I think you, as the San Antonio fan and also parent to San Antonio fans and keeping them in a straight line here, I think you should do the honors.
Yeah, the parent to San Antonio fans. Hey, you kids, shut up back there, or I'm going to turn this car around, and we won't even go to Six Flags Fiesta, Texas today. All right,
I want to go.
Let's go. Here it is. Okay, and I love the first three words. Here it is. Dear San Antonio, I love you. How cool is that? Your first, if you're writing a love letter, don't save I love you till the end. Do it at the top. But here we go. From Peter J. Holt, released less than 24 hours ago, released more like 19 hours ago. Dear San Antonio, I love you. I love this city. A big city with a casual small town feel and a great, in all caps, basketball team. I want to reassure you that the Spurs are in San Antonio to stay. I love the charedas, forgive my Spanish, the big green trees, and watching my 4 children play at the splash pad at Yanaguana. I love eating the best chicken in the world at Pollos Asados Los Norteños on Rigsby near my office, or sharing breakfast tacos with friends. And yes, we do have the best tacos. I was raised in San Antonio, and this city has helped define the foundation of the Spurs. The Spurs are as much a part of San Antonio as San Antonio is a part of the Spurs. I was 12 years old when we won our first championship in 1999. My wife has early memories running behind the curtains at the Alamo Dome to get a David Robinson bobblehead. My children love to pull the tail of the coyote the same way I did as a child. everywhere I go in San Antonio. I love hearing stories of people's memories and connections to our team. Your stories and your ties to the Spurs have helped shape who I am and who we are as a city. We will keep making memories together inside of Bexar County. My family became involved with the Spurs in the 90s because there was a real threat that the team would be moved. We would not let that happen then, and we will not let that happen now. There is no other team in the NBA like the Spurs and no other home like San Antonio. The military presence, the downtown honkers, the Sazlian sisters who pray during the games, the baseline bums, they are the San Antonio Spurs. The Alamo, the Missions, the Pearl, the Riverwalk, Fiesta, these are the San Antonio Spurs. There are no Spurs without this city and the people of San Antonio. Your team, our team, together we are the silver and black. Spurs fans, we are here to stay. Por vida, Peter J. Holt. Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. Shannon, your thoughts now and your thoughts when you read that yesterday.
Well, to my conspiracy theorist side of me, immediately alarms rang out when you mentioned the back in the 90s when there was a quote real threat of the franchise leaving. Is that saying there are threats out there? It's just not considered a real threat or as threatening as it once was before? That
I read that as this isn't real, people, but there was a real threat in
Calm
the night.
down.
That's how I read it. But that's a good question to interpret.
Yeah.
Which way to interpret that?
It's an amazing statement. It's heartfelt. He obviously is
Yes.
drawing from his personal experiences and relating it to the franchise and the greater San Antonio area. But again, I just go back to this feels like something that you put out when there is a quote unquote real threat, and not again just on a random Tuesday when there's that doesn't really seem like there's a big uproar about a city trying to poach the team away from them.
Now, as I mentioned, and Jeremy, I want to get your reaction to this letter. I saw it as it came down, and so I immediately retweeted it in case people missed it. And right away, somebody said, "Oh yeah, I'm sure the Seattle I'm sure the Seattle Supersonics fans got the same letter." Of course, they moved to Oklahoma City, and somebody said, "This is exactly like an owner saying I fully stand behind our coach," right before he's fired a few weeks later. So, Jeremy, there's still a lot of doubt among some segment of the Spurs fans population. How did this letter read with you? What was your perception? What is your perception of it?
Yeah, I kind of had the same reaction as Shannon. I was kind of like, why did they feel the need to put this out on this random Tuesday at like 10:35 a.m. or whenever they did decide to release it? And it's obviously it goes without saying, nobody wants the Spurs to leave. We love the Spurs here, and the Spurs are intertwined with San Antonio as much as any sports team can be with a city, in my opinion. But I'm just thinking, why are they doing this? Now, obviously, they just broke ground on their new training facility, their new headquarters and everything over at La Cantera, The Rock. That obviously doesn't point to any indicator that they're going to leave anytime soon, right? But I'm thinking, I kind of, something else approached my mind that I hesitate to bring up. I hesitate to be that guy this morning.
Don't hesitate.
But
Go for it.
I'm thinking, why are they putting this out? Why are they feeling the need to talk to the fan base in a way that they've never done before and kind of just reassure everybody? And I'm thinking, are they preparing for something? Are they laying the groundwork for something major, something drastic that they know is coming here, and that they needed to kind of rally the fan base and say, hey, look, everything's still going to be okay no matter what happens, no matter what might blindside you coming up, like maybe the head coach deciding to retire sometime soon. That's just the first thought I had.
Wow. You know what?
Can't just say those things, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I know.
No, that is I until you said that, Jeremy, I didn't read the letter that way or think, and that's plausible that, hey man, a big announcement's coming. If a big announcement's coming at the end of May. And first of all, I've said this earlier, I have believed that if Pop were going to retire this offseason, it would have happened already. I think that. Then again, you could argue Pop wouldn't want to be the narrative while the NBA playoffs are still going on. That maybe, but if that's the case, Jeremy, to reassure the fans, and as Shannon characterized it, and I totally agree, a very heartfelt letter from Peter J. Holt. If part of the motivation here was to really, really make sure the fans know we are locked in here for the long haul, no matter what. Because if you do think about it, Shannon, if Pop were to retire, in addition to some of the angst that was out there when fans heard, hey, we're going to play some games in Austin, hey, we're going to play some games in Mexico City, and then all of a sudden Pop retires, the conspiracy theorists would have said Pop was forced out because of Michael Dell out of Austin. And there's another big tech investor in the last few months. His name's not in front of me right now, Shannon, but a very interesting theory by Jeremy. How do you feel about it?
I like it because I think that certainly Pop retiring will shake Spurs fans no matter what. But because we mentioned right that maybe they're looking to move because they can't draw those bigger players because they don't have quote unquote the superstar names on their roster. So your superstar is and has been Coach Pop for the past couple of years, and without him, okay, who's holding this all together? Who's holding it down for San Antonio? And maybe I could see that as a reason why Spurs fans might say, okay, that was the final straw, and that they're really going to consider moving this time. But because the one thing I think that could really get you a LeBron type player right is Coach Pop, because people want to play for him, and we without knowing who the next head coach is going to be, we can't say the same.
Now, Hector Gomez writing as we go to break here in a moment. County Judge Nelson Wolff asked for a commitment from the Spurs that they were going to stay in San Antonio. That's why Peter J. Holt came out with the letter I mentioned earlier, and that is true. The county commissioners, of which County Judge Nelson Wolff currently presides, he's retiring. There's a new election coming for a new county judge, which will either be Peter Sakai or gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the other candidate right now at 7:28 in the morning. But that part of that county commissioner vote, they said, we will approve you to play some games in Austin and Mexico City for 1 year. Trish DeBerry, by the way, is the other candidate running. Trish DeBerry is the Republican. Peter Sakai is the Democrat for county judge. But county commissioners did not approve a second year, which the Spurs wanted. So that, in conjunction with, as Hector mentions, County Judge Nelson Wolff wanting a commitment to stay in San Antonio, could be the main motivation for this letter dropping at this time. Coming up, and by the way, we'll talk a little bit more Spurs and more. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, at 8:05, and we got to hear we got to hear from Walter PASACRITA at 8:35, his thoughts on this. Walter's been covering the Spurs up close and personal for many, many years in this market as well. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays, and more. And we want to hear from you. Does this alleviate your concerns, if you had any, of the Spurs thinking about going somewhere else? This letter from Chairman Peter J. Holt. Hit us up on the talkback feature of the free iHeartRadio app. Talk to us on the live video feed, or you can dial us up on the phone numbers. We always take your calls at 800-707-9760. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He's Jeremy Kolok. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. All right. I'm going to bang out a couple of spots here. That's loud. Let's see. Where is... All right. I'm going to turn off my mic for a moment while I record these spots. I'll be back with audio in a moment. Okay. What's happening?
This is one of the corniest.
Okay.
This guy's talking to this other guy and he says, I finally decided to start carpooling. I says, I'm afraid of carpooling. He says, well, why? He says, I'm afraid that we might go through a tunnel and there might be a big flood. We'll all get trapped in there. And the guy says, well, that's a definite concern. Is there a name for it? He says, carpool tunnel syndrome.
Carpool tunnel syndrome. Very good. Astros, 8 in a row, longest win streak in baseball. I accept your congratulations. Your congratulations is accepted. Justin Verlander.
I don't hear congratulations from you when the Yankees are winning.
I said I constantly.
But you didn't say congratulations.
I constantly congratulated you.
Won a walk-off last night or a 3-run homer bottom of the ninth by Aaron Judge.
Beat the Blue Jays, who are very, very good. Yeah. We will see. When do we know when they play next?
I have to look at that.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Correa did not play last night. Hopefully he plays tonight.
And Springer's doing well with the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Yes, very much so. Yeah. Jeremy Pena's numbers this season so far better than Carlos Correa at shortstop. So if that works out, my goodness, save all that money, then.
You know what I haven't looked at is Gary Sanchez's numbers with the Twins.
Yeah.
Because he was a liability on defense all the time for the Yankees.
Wow.
You know, as a catcher, I called him Mr. Passball.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Enjoy. I recorded Big Bib. I'll get those out probably later today. I just have to cut them up. Okay. All right, let me do something here. Edit. That was David Munoz with the David Munoz joke. Select. Edit. Copy. File. New. This is 3. Paste. All right, here we come. Jeremy, let's bang out that talk back right out of the gate here. Since we got Bill at 05 and then Walter, this is probably our best shot to do it. And then I'll move quickly through birthdays and history. Here we go. We got a talk back from Jason Garcia, our resident soccer and San Antonio FC connection and board member of the Crocketeers. So we'll get that from him here in a moment. Shannon Salty Shakedown coming up in seconds. Here we come.
Chris and Salty on Twitter, at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Little Electric Avenue. Welcome in. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. So much going on in the world of sports, and we are all over it. NBA playoffs, Astros on fire, 8 in a row, longest winning streak in Major League Baseball. A Cowboys schedule game dropped earlier this hour. We were all over it with breaking news. It'll be Cowboys at the Green Bay Packers on November 13th, 3:25 on Fox. The entire NFL schedule will drop on tomorrow night, 7 p.m., NFL Network and Fox Sports 1. In a moment, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history and sports birthdays. Big guests in the 8 o'clock hour. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs at 8:05, and Walter PASACRITA, who often has strong opinions about the Spurs and all of sports at 8:35. Before Shannon Salty Shakedown, sports history and sports birthdays, we did get a talk back. We've been telling you, leave us a message on the free iHeart Radio app. The microphone button, that's your talkback button. You record it, you send it, we get it instantly. And apparently Jason Garcia, our connection for all things soccer, San Antonio FC, he's a board member of the Crocketeers supporter group. He left us a talkback, and it went a little bit something like this.
Good morning, Chris, Shannon, and Jeremy. Happy hump day to you and yours. The kind reminder tonight, SAFC is in Houston to face the Houston Dynamo. For those who can't make it to the game in Houston, the Crocketeers will be having a watch party at Alamo Beer Company. That's in downtown, right underneath the Hay Street Bridge.
What a great reminder, because we hadn't mentioned that yet, Shannon. Yeah. The in that U.S. Open Lamar Hunt Cup for soccer, it is San Antonio FC at the Houston Dynamo. And in Can't make it to Houston. Shannon, you can go to that match. You can go watch the Houston. You're in Houston. Are you going? Come on.
No, my ability to travel a little limited, so I don't
Uber.
plan on it. But
That's why God created Uber, so that you can travel anywhere you want and drink heavily while you do, because it's Uber.
There's another Astros game. There's
Okay.
NBA baseball. Right. You know, there's stuff going on.
All right.
To do.
Go San Antonio FC. If they beat Austin in this tournament, they play their second consecutive MLS team in the Houston Dynamo. It would be insane if they won to. Alamo Beer Company, if you want to go to the watch party with the Crocketeers and other fans. Let's get this party started before Shannon's Salty Shakedown. How about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? May 11th, 1963. LA Dodgers pitcher Sandy Koufax throws his second career no-hitter, beating the San Francisco Giants 8-0. This day in 1971, Cleveland Indians pitcher Steve Dunning hits a grand slam. The pitcher hit a grand slam off the Oakland A's on this day in 1971. On this day in 1977, the owner of the Atlanta Braves, Ted Turner, managed the team. Everybody says, man, why doesn't Jerry Jones just coach the Cowboys? Ted Turner put on the uniform and managed the Atlanta Braves on this day in 1977. And finally, on this day in 1980, Pete Rose, at the age of 39, steals second, third, and home, all in one inning for the Philadelphia Phillies. That's crazy. Wonder if he bet on that game. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1952, sports journalist, author, and newspaper columnist Mike Lupica was born in Oneida, New York. Mike Lupica wrote for the New York Daily News and appeared on the Four Letter Network. And finally, 2 Heisman Trophy winners were born on this day. If you're born on May 11th, you've got a good chance to be a Heisman Trophy winner. On this day in 1983, College Football Hall of Fame quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner in 2004, and notorious jacuzzi enthusiast Matt Leinart of USC. Fight on! Born on this day in 1983 in Santa Ana, California. Happy birthday, Matt Leinart. And then 6 years later, Heisman Trophy winner in 2010 from Auburn, NFL MVP in 2015, Cam Newton was born in Atlanta, Georgia on this day in 1989. Happy birthday, Cam, Matt, and Mike. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your midweek Salty Shakedown.
Well, Chris, winning time has officially come to an end with its current season, which means our homework assignments are currently at a pause. But I've got one to add to the calendar. Yesterday, the trailer for the movie Hustle, which will come out on Netflix on June 10th, dropped. It stars Adam Sandler and Queen Latifah. For those that don't know, Adam Sandler has a huge Netflix deal where I think it was worth $275 million for him to make all these movies. Now, a lot of the movies that he's produced and that have already come out for Netflix with him are more of the comedy route, more of, I guess, what people are more inclined to see him in. But this movie, it's not uncut gems, but it is more on the serious and serious actor side of things for one Adam Silver. And in it, he plays a down on his luck basketball scout for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he ends up finding a great player overseas. He goes overseas to look for different players, almost like how the Spurs were able to pull in guys from other countries, and that was something that other teams weren't really doing at the time. But I think it looks really great. I sent y'all the trailer. We'll make sure to get that up on the Chris Duel Show blog page. But some other stars featured in this. Boban Marjanovic, who of course is featured in the trailer. It's kind of funny. He says he's 22 in the trailer. And then he looks over and he says, "That's my son." And it's a really tall guy. And he says, "How old is your son?" He says he's 10. I was like, well, that doesn't really add up. But Kenny Smith, Seth Curry, Doc Rivers, Trey Young, Jordan Clarkson, Tobias Harris, and more will also be in this film. Chris, I usually don't get excited for movies involving Adam Sandler, but I've got to say this one looks pretty good. I've got it on my list.
You had me at Boban. I mean, I probably would have watched it anyway.
He's everywhere.
Yes, but that is a great cast. And I mean, if you're making any kind of a sports movie or even a thriller or any movie, even a rom-com, a romantic, Boban. I'd love to see Boban in a romantic comedy, in a chick flick as a love interest as well.
Stop always adding LeBron James.
Yes,
there are
Boban.
other guys in the league worthy of it, and hopefully this movie will go over well with viewers. So maybe we'll get some more of those guys in movies to come. Moving to the world of soccer, Chris, this was huge news that broke yesterday. FIFA and EA Sports have discontinued their partnership. It was a partnership that lasted over 2 decades, nearly 30 years, and brought in a total of $20 billion. That's with a B, $1 billion. Not to mention FIFA on their end earned around $150 million annually because of this game. That game is huge. It's big on all platforms. It's one of those games they continue to add things to throughout the year. And obviously, it's got the World Cup feature, which people know and love so much. And this being a World Cup year, a lot of people probably were expecting something a little more exciting to come from an announcement between these two, and not we are going our separate ways. But silver lining, because they're going their separate ways, we're going to get more soccer video games out of it. EA Sports has already announced that they will start making EA Sports FC. That first edition will come out in 2023, but because they are EA and no longer affiliated with FIFA, they will not be able to include the World Cup in that game. But FIFA, on the other hand, saying they're going to release multiple simulation games that will obviously include the World Cup and a new take on ways to play soccer video games. Now, I know Jeremy's more of the video gamer. So, Jeremy, have you ever played FIFA, and your thoughts on what might happen with the new versions of soccer games now that these two are no longer in connection?
Well, this is definitely the end of an era. That's an iconic name in the video game world, FIFA. And from my perspective, I don't like seeing monopolies in the video game world. I like to promote competition because I think it gives us a better product in general. So I'm all for this.
Yeah, agreed. And obviously FIFA, just as an entity, is usually seen as the big, bad, and evil side of things. And that $150 million that they made annually off of these FIFA games was actually their biggest commercial earner. So they took a huge hit yesterday with this deal coming to an end. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up putting out on their very own. Finally, today, we move to the world of fantasy football. And with that comes some PGA Tour action. The U.S. Open is just around the corner. And so local tournaments that include even people who just want to see if they can compete with the best have been competing. And there was a tournament on Monday in KC, Missouri, where there were 58 players with 3 spots available for the top 3 players to then go to the U.S. Open. And the gentleman who came in last place lost by 4 shots to the next closest player, who shot a 112, which was 40 over par, was one Mr. John Eckert, who had to participate in the U.S. Open local qualifier because he lost his fantasy football with his friends last season. Chris, this is a wild punishment. I don't know how the PGA would even allow it, because the PGA, right, they're so serious, they're so rigid.
Yeah.
So I guess anyone can sign up to join this, and I don't know, maybe he's a better golfer, but things did not go well. He started off with double bogeys, they were going like crazy. But one of the more creative, I think, fantasy football punishments, and maybe not a punishment at all for some people, because what if he went out there and did amazing things?
Yeah.
But no, he came in last place in that field of 58, Chris.
That's mind-blowing that he could get into that tournament as his fantasy football punishment. I love that it's creative. And Shannon, you and Jeremy and I and Andy Everett, when we do fantasy sports drafts like Kentucky, we need more, we need better and more creative punishments. I mean, this may inspire us. We need to really rethink punishments here.
Just take a whole day off to go golfing. That final
be
score, a
humiliated.
112.
Wow.
What you just I mean, I feel like 9, and they could have just said, hey man, just cut your losses. Only 3 are getting in. It's not going to happen for you. But there it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding Salty Shakedown. I love the Boban in the Adam Sandler movie Hustle. More Boban is good Boban. and that FIFA EA Sports. Jeremy, I think you had a great take on that this automatically creates more competition and more innovation, therefore. So it might even just upgrade gaming in general, involving not only soccer, but as innovations continue, maybe across all game platforms. Do we know, Shannon, this Adam Sandler movie with all these stars, Steph Curry, one of them, in addition to Boban, Jordan Clarkson, a San Antonio product. Do we know when it's going to drop?
June 10th.
June 10th.
On Netflix. That is a Friday, so we will make that a homework assignment for sure. But it looks good. You know, it's not as serious and crazy and maybe stressful as Uncut Gems was, but it's definitely more serious side to Adam Sandler than what we're familiar with.
I saw a trailer yesterday, just speaking of, because we always exchange recommendations for streaming movies or series, and I don't I think it was Netflix. No, it was HBO Max. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie that's going to drop on this Friday the 13th. I think it's called Old, O-L-D. I did see about a 2.5 minute trailer, and it's about these families. They're vacationing on this island, and they go to this beach, and everybody on the beach, including the kids, start aging dramatically. It looks like part Lost, the TV show from years ago, Lost, and part part Twilight Zone. But again, because it's M. Night Shyamalan, it was freaky and weird. But and it's HBO Max. So now that I got to fill the void of Winning Time no longer being around, but that is on my list for and by the way, Friday is Friday the 13th for all you superstitious people. So a perfect day/night for an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
And not me. I'm watching the Astros because they'll finally be on TV.
Well, you can do a double header. You can watch Astros, and then when the game ends, you can move on to something else. Just an idea.
I tend to go to bed at the same time on the weekends because I'm lame.
All right, fair enough. Jeremy, how are you going to fill the void with? And I said we were going to get to Winning Time, but now with Bill, unless Bill's seen Winning Time, and I don't know that he has, or Walter, our guests coming up, we might not. We might still have to get to Winning Time tomorrow. Jeremy, what's on your streaming list coming up?
You know,
anything good coming?
I don't know. When I knew that I needed to watch the last episode of Winning Time, I was like, man, I really need a new show because I'm going to be kind of down when this thing ends with how good it's been, and having something to look forward to every week, just knowing that you're going to have a quality product put out by HBO and them boys. But I don't know. I might have to get back to you on that. I mean, we're still in the NBA playoffs. And like
True.
Shannon said, the Astros are on TV on Friday.
Yes. And tomorrow night, we got the NFL schedule reveal at 7 on the NFL Network and on FS1. I'm watching. We bought another. I think I mentioned this, Shannon. There's a show called Gaslit. It's a series with Sean Penn and Julia Roberts. It's on Stars, STARZ, which I didn't have. Now add Stars to the already gazillion. I'm gonna have to cut my cable just to eat because I'm subscribing to so many streaming services now.
Yeah, those start to add up quickly, right? $5 here, $10 there.
Yeah. All right. Coming up, this is gonna be a good 8:00 hour. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. He has become our NBA analyst. He's also quite the baseball play-by-play guy. In fact, Jeremy, I during the break here, I'll try to send you. I've got some Bill Schoening on the call of a recent, just a few days ago, a college baseball game. So we'll talk all kinds of sports with Bill, including the latest from the Spurs, the letter from Peter J. Holt. We'll get into that and more with Walter PASACRITA at 8:35. Lots more coming at you. Big 8:00 hour. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok, your chief meteorologist. I'm Chris, with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. All right, I got to find that for Jeremy. I'm finding this call. It's on Twitter, and I'm working on getting it to you right now.
Okay, gotcha.
at UTSA baseball, I think. All right. I got it. This is a cool Bill Schoening call if I can find it. UTSA baseball. Oh, I don't want to do that yet. Sixth. Shoot.
LASIK Plus has more 5-star reviews than anyone else, which has a lot to do with our doctors. Dr. Bruce January has performed
All right, let's try it this way.
1,000 LASIK procedures and is one of the most experienced refractive surgeons in the world. So book your appointment at today and get 20% off LASIK in May. That's over $900 off when treating both eyes. Plus financing. Visit mylasicoffer.com.
There it is.
From the moment you open the bag, through the low and slow grilling, to the very last bite of food, new Kingsford Signature Flavors hardwood pellets tantalize.
Colleen, the number 2 hitter in the order. 1-1. Line drive, deep right field, going back, shape to the right fielder, and he'll be able to get it. It bounces off the wall. Diaz will score. Sergachetti will score. Down in third and being sent home is Tapia here. 1-1. Line drive, deep right field, going back, shape to the right fielder, and he'll be able to get it. And that will score.
Okay, I just sent it to your Twitter from Ticket 760. What I'll do is, before we bring on Bill, I'll ask you to play that, and then we'll go to Bill right out of that. Thanks, sir. I'm going to record 2 more spots here. So I'm going to mute my mic for just a moment. File, new, stereo. Okay, here we go. Gail, no AM radio? How is that possible? Take that car back. Okay, I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to mute for a moment. I'll be back. Okay, there's that. Bill Schoening coming up. Axel J. Miller, welcome in. Roxana, Charlie, Ashley, Bella. What's this I hear about TB12? Yep, that broke yesterday at about this time about Tom Brady, and we talked about it. Gail says, I picked up a new company car on Tuesday, and it doesn't have AM radio. Whoa, thank goodness you figured out the iHeart Radio app. Good, thank you. Actually, it'll sound better than AM radio, so that kind of works out. I did not know that, Axel. That's crazy. Kawhi Leonard launches a new shoe in Spurs Fiesta colors. Probably just to stick it to Spurs fans. Is it real or is it Memorex? And that's when the glass breaks, as you recall. All right. Fred Robert Casares Jr. says, good morning. I was listening to y'all reading the letter from Peter J. Holt. Kind of reminds me of the Baltimore Colts. They moved in the middle of the night. And Seattle Supersonics, they also left. Nice letter, but they will hit the San Antonio Spurs fans in the stomach when we are relaxed. See, Fred, a lot of people are saying what you're saying, but I take the man at his word. He went throughout that letter to show you his sincerity, his family connection to the Spurs, his connection to San Antonio. I hope you're wrong, but I know you're not alone in voicing and sharing that opinion. Here we come with Bill in just a moment.
We got him.
Okay, and I'll call for that audio pretty quickly out of the gate. Here we come. 8 o'clock hour. This should be fun.
Chris Duel.
Welcome into the 8 o'clock hour on a Wednesday with so much going on in the world of sports, from the NBA playoffs to Major League Baseball. Astros have won 8 in a row. Justin Verlander with the no-hitter going into the 8th inning last night in Minneapolis. NFL, we had breaking news less than an hour ago that the Dallas Cowboys will play at Lambeau Field against the Packers on November 13th, 3:25 on Fox. Don't forget, tomorrow night, the entire NFL regular season schedule will drop on the NFL Network and on Fox Sports 1 at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We are all over that. And of course, the Spurs news made less than 24 hours ago, the letter to the city of San Antonio from Spurs chairman Peter J. Holt. We'll get into that and a whole lot more as we have throughout the morning. As we've been telling you all morning, joining us now is the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. But before we bring him on, if you think Bill Schoening is just a basketball play-by-play broadcaster, then you might need to listen to this.
Colleen, the number 2 hitter of the order. 1-1. Line drive, deep right field, going back. Schaefer, the right fielder, he won't be able to get it. It bounces off the wall. Diaz will score. Serdashny will score. Louding third and being sent home is Tapia. He will score. It's a 3 RBI double for Josh Colleen.
Bill Schoening on Conference USA television with the stellar baseball play-by-play call. Bill Schoening, man, you do it all. That was pretty cool.
A little warm out there, but it's okay. It's okay. I've had plenty of water.
Bill, I've got to imagine that calling baseball versus calling basketball, because just the pace of the game in general, how do you fill that time in between pitches when you're calling baseball? I got to feel like it feels like forever in comparison to what you do with a basketball game.
A completely different call. You're exactly right, Salty, because of the pace of the game. And what makes it a little bit more challenging is that I don't have a partner on these baseball broadcasts. Basketball is not that bad because the pace of the game is such that I don't really need an analyst that much. But in baseball, you could use that extra voice. I know when I did Longhorn baseball, I had Keith Moreland with me, the former major leaguer, who's a dear friend, and worked with me for about 7 years in the booth. And he'd always have these Cubs and Phillies stories from his career, playing with guys like Ryan Sandberg and Andre Dawson and Mike Schmidt and people like that. So I would have stories. So to answer your question, when it comes to doing baseball by yourself, you've got to have that real slow pace, maybe tell an occasional story. But the good thing for me is on the Conference USA TV, it's live stream. So there is a camera. So I don't have to go in deep description on all of my calls because you can see a lot of it anyway on the screen. There's usually a 2-camera shoot. So I've got a lot of that. So I learned how to shut up a little bit, which is hard for me, as you know, Chris. But when you're doing something that's got a screen and you can actually see, then I don't need to do as much yapping as I normally do.
Speaking of broadcasters who shut up sometimes on the air, as you know, Bill, I lived in Los Angeles from like 1981 to 1993. That's when I went to USC, among other things. So I would listen to a lot of Dodger baseball, and this is what I want to ask you: who you think is the best baseball play-by-play guy? My gosh, Vin Scully, the legendary Vin Scully, not only as you describe, telling stories and being conversational during a baseball game. He was like a master at it. But I also loved as well when there was a big moment, when there was a home run, a big hit, when the crowd was going wild or booing or whatever, Vin Scully would just stop and let you hear it and let you feel what it was like to be at that ball game. Of all the baseball play-by-play guys you've heard over the years, Bill, is Vin Scully at the top of your pyramid?
Yeah, I think there's no question about the fact that there's Vin Scully and then there's everybody else when it comes to baseball play-by-play, because he had the master of the pace, the tempo, the story. He didn't need an analyst. And I've never been to Dodger Stadium, believe it or not. I've been to all these other ballparks. I've never been to Dodger Stadium, but I've heard from many people that through the years, if you walk through the portals at Dodger Stadium, you go into the concourse, you go into the stands, you hear people listening on their radios to Vin Scully. It's just like part of the soundtrack. So good on him. And the best basketball guy, in my opinion, is also an LA guy, and that's Chick Hearn, who grew up in Illinois, but of course was the voice of the Lakers forever and ever. So Los Angeles got pretty fortunate when they got Vin Scully for baseball and Chick Hearn for basketball.
Well, Bill, as a play-by-play guy, you're calling it as it comes, fact for fact. But there are a lot of people in the sports world, like Chris and I. We're here to just share our opinions and our thoughts and ideas. And Michelle Beadle, who is now closely associated with the Spurs, did a podcast earlier this week in which she said that her opinion on LeBron James, the decision, which she took an hour of everyone's time on national television to announce that he was going to play for the Miami Heat, that he got into her DMs after the fact, was unhappy with her opinion, and actually tried to get her fired. And that is something that he has reportedly done throughout his career. Has anyone ever come up to you after you've called a play and thought, man, you weren't exciting enough, or we didn't like the way you made that call?
I'm sure it's happened, but no one has come up to me personally. You can't satisfy everybody, so I'm sure there's some people that don't like it, or don't like my calls, and that's fine. Everybody's got their own opinion, but I try not to worry about, at least for me, what critics might say about anything, really, because I mean. Chris, as you know, and I'm sure you know this as well, Shannon, when you're doing something that's, whether you're singing or broadcasting or playing ball or coaching, whatever it is, whatever that stage might be, there are going to be critics. There are going to be people that don't like your performance, that think you can do it better. And as a performer, you can't really worry too much about that. The only thing you can really worry about is making sure that you're doing the absolute best you can. So at least from my perspective, that's what I try to do. I try to do the best I can do with what I do. And if that's not good enough for some folks, well, that's the way it is.
Well, and you do a magnificent job, as I think most people will agree, even in an era where on social media, somebody will always, be negative about something seemingly all the time. I got to, over the years, Bill, I don't see a lot of, or I can't remember any negative tweets or Facebook or anything. You do just such a great job, and you manage to do it in such a way where there's not a whole lot of people can say that's negative about your performance because it's so good. He's the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. And Bill, I've got to ask you, the Spurs made news yesterday as the chairman of Spurs Sports and Entertainment, Peter J. Holt, released a letter to the people of San Antonio. The first three words were, "I love you," which I think is a great way to open up a letter. And it, as Shannon described it earlier today, it was a very heartfelt letter about his connection to San Antonio, to Spurs fans. And the message of the letter was the Spurs will stay in San Antonio for the long haul. Just want to get your thoughts on that letter as you read it yesterday.
It almost brought me to tears. It really did. His love for San Antonio, his love for all things San Antonio, going back to when he was a teenager, just a kid when the Spurs won their first championship in '99. He kind of makes sure that he includes so much stuff that is the fabric of San Antonio in his letter to make sure these people understand that the Spurs aren't going anywhere. And I think that's quite clear throughout the course of that letter. And I think that we've seen that reinforced with the commitment that the Spurs have in the community. They want to play a couple of home games up there in Austin or down in Mexico City to expand the brand. That's one thing, but they're not going anywhere.
Well, Bill, on that letter, what's your take on why doing that yesterday morning on a Tuesday was the appropriate and right time, kind of the reasoning behind the letter to begin with?
Well, I think that there's so many people that are skeptical for whatever reason about the Spurs leaving San Antonio. A long time ago, these discussions were had, not recently. I think that the Spurs are entrenched in San Antonio. I said this last week on the show. And nothing I have seen would indicate to me that the Spurs aren't part of this community for a long, long time.
He's the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. Bill, moving to the NBA playoffs, as you've been kind enough to be our NBA analyst throughout these playoffs. Both games last night, blowouts. I was saying to Shannon and Jeremy earlier, normally when there's two playoff games, there can be a blowout, but usually they're not both blowouts, and certainly not both by 30 or more. Both games yesterday, 30 or more. The Phoenix Suns beat the Dallas Mavericks by 30, 110-80. Suns take a 3-2 lead in that series. And the Philadelphia 76ers, who you grew up a fan of and you continue to follow them, they had a rough night in Miami. Miami beats Philly by 35, 120-85 to take a 3-2 lead in that series. As we know, Bill, blowouts are inevitable in the NBA playoffs and in the NBA, but those were two sizable playoff margins last night.
I want you to know that I wasn't shirking my responsibilities as your loyal correspondent, but I did watch the tail end of World War II in Color, Episode 6 last night. Instead of watching the end of the Dallas Phoenix games. I apologize for shirking my responsibilities. First things first, the Philly-Miami game, if Embiid's not 100%, and he's not, it's going to be very tough. If he's not getting a lot of help from James Harden, it's not going to help. It's not going to work. And Harden last night, 5 for 13. He was minus 29 in the plus-minus. They need a lot more from James Harden, especially with Joel Embiid not being healthy with that orbital fracture. Embiid, by the way, had 5 rebounds last night in 33 minutes. So that's not helping either. Tyrese Maxey, who's been playing very well for them, was only 2 for 10 last night. So there are a number of reasons why Miami blew out Philadelphia last night. And as I mentioned in the very beginning of the series, without a completely healthy Joel Embiid, I don't see Harden being the Harden from a few years ago where he can take over a game and drop 40 on somebody. I'm not very optimistic about the Sixers' chances in that series. Dallas last night shot 38%, only 25% from three-point range. Their bench didn't show up. They were 6 for 20, and Phoenix just took advantage of all of that in their blowout win. And I think it's going to be tough for Dallas unless more people join the party to get involved. They just can't have Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic doing everything. They need other guys to play.
Joel Embiid in the city of Philadelphia feel like he should have been named the MVP of the league, but it went to Nikola Jokic once again. Your thoughts on him and if he's worthy of it for a back-to-back year, and also the timing of the announcement and also when voting occurs, because there's some arguments of if you're going to vote for a regular season MVP, that announcement should be made prior to the start of the playoffs because Jokic did not perform very well for his team come playoff time, or if the voting should just end at the end of the season overall.
Yeah, they spread it out to get more news, right? So they spread out the announcement of the awards, MVP, Coach of the Year, all of that, kind of like the NFL does with certain things. To make sure that you stay in the news, and that's one thing that gets added to the playoff interest is the announcement of these awards. I thought Joel Embiid deserved the MVP. I had no problem with Jokic getting it because without Jokic, it's hard to imagine what Denver would do, especially with the other injury that Denver had this year, especially with Jamal Murray being out. Embiid carried that Sixers team, same thing. Without him, who knows where they'd be. They've had a lot of other issues as well. Of course, the whole Ben Simmons saga there in Philadelphia. So, and Giannis was deserving too. So I would have had no problem with any of those three guys getting the award.
Well, and it's interesting, Bill, when you look at back-to-back winners of the MVP award, obviously Tim Duncan comes to mind for Spurs fans, but, on that list, Michael Jordan won back-to-back, Magic Johnson won back-to-back, Larry Bird won 3 in a row, Moses Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it a couple of times. I just wonder if NBA fans, Steve Nash did it. When I think of, all those other guys other than Steve Nash have championships to their credit. I just wonder if Jokic, part of the fan disenchantment over Jokic going back to back is the fact that the Nuggets haven't gone deep in either of the last 2 playoff runs.
But it is a regular season award. Now, if they want to change the criteria and include the playoffs, that's something else. But of course, as you know, Chris, they have the playoffs separate. And you're right. But Jokic has carried that team just like Embiid has carried the 76ers. By the way, since we're talking about awards, congratulations to Monty Williams, who's been named the NBA Coach of the Year. And as you know, Chris, a lot of deep ties in San Antonio, player, a volunteer assistant coach shortly after retired as a player, then later came back as an assistant GM in the front office. A classy guy, extremely bright guy, a man that has a great deal of character and integrity. I was very happy to see him win that award. And how about this? 3 of the top 4 vote getters in Coach of the Year with strong Spurs ties. Monty Williams, Taylor Jenkins, of course, who coached the Austin Toros up in Austin before they were the Austin Spurs, and Ime Udoka finished 4th. And of course, Ime in his first year as head coach of the Boston Celtics. So that coaching tree continues to grow, doesn't it, Chris?
Absolutely. And you mentioned Monty Williams, Bill. And of course, a lot of people know he went through such a horrible tragedy in Oklahoma City, losing his wife in a car accident. And you've talked about him a lot over the years, Bill. Just such a good man. It's great to see him achieving this success and getting the recognition now for this success.
Yeah, and Phoenix made a great hire when they hired him. I know they've been going through a number of coaches, and that hadn't been the most stable organization for a long time, but they did the right thing when they hired Monty Williams for sure.
Well, we're getting deeper into the NBA playoffs, but the WNBA started their season last weekend, and Becky Hammon, the new coach for the Las Vegas Aces, started off on a 2-0 run. They did end up losing last night. She suffered her first loss with that team, but we had a sighting of DeJounte Murray at one of her games, the first home game of her career as a new head coach. Talk about their relationship and that support that she's continuing to get from the Spurs organization as she takes on this new gig.
They look at her as a coach. They look at her as a mentor. They look at her as someone who has taught them basketball and taught them life. They don't look at her as a female coach. Becky's just, she's part of the scene. And the respect they will continue to show her, and it's heartwarming. It really is. I know DeJounte has a real soft spot in his heart for Becky because of the way she played. She was a point guard, so they can relate to each other. She was a team leader. And he learned his leadership skills, or I'm sure some of them, from Becky Hammon. So it's a great story, and I'm sure she'll have a lot of success as the head coach of Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, I loved that, Bill, when I saw that DeJounte Murray went to be there, a face in the crowd, and be there to support his former coach, Becky Hammon. Bill, looking at these playoffs now, it's looking more likely that we're going to have Golden State versus Phoenix, speaking of Monty Williams. And on the other side, Miami takes the 3-2 lead over Philly. Boston and Milwaukee looking neck and neck at this point as well. I think early on you were picking Phoenix, I think, but if we have Golden State, man, with all of their championship experience and the way they're playing right now, up 3-1 in their series against the Memphis Grizzlies. What do you think of a potential Phoenix Golden State series, which is now looking more likely in the Western Conference Finals?
It'll be really tough for Memphis now. Jean Morant has been listed as doubtful or out for the rest of the playoffs. Very, very doubtful that they can compete without him. He was averaging 38 points per game, for goodness, in the series. So I can see why you would assume maybe that Phoenix Golden State would be next, and I certainly would be there with you. And I think that would be an awesome series. We'll see if that happens, but I think that would be a great matchup. I really do. As far as the Bucks and Boston are concerned, what an intriguing series that is. And where did Al Horford come from? Game 4, he had 30 points and 8 rebounds, and he had 5 threes in that game. Certainly a throwback game for Al Horford. But as Jason Tatum goes, so go the Boston Celtics. Game 3, he was 4 for 19 and a loss. Game 4, 30 points and 13 rebounds in a win. So they certainly could use Jason Tatum, be a little more consistent. We know how good he is. That's anybody's series. And again, speaking of the coaching tree, there's Coach Bud against Ime Udoka in that series.
Yeah, I love that matchup as well. Finally, Bill, we do have news and kind of a save the date message for you have a book signing coming up, your brand new book, and it's going to involve an iconic San Antonio venue, from what I understand, and we know the date, and it's getting closer. What do we know about your book signing event?
Now, June 2nd, looks like the book signing at the Barn Door on New Braunfels, not in New Braunfels, but on New Braunfels. just off the loop there and Loop 410. And I'm looking forward to it, Chris. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll do like a little visiting for a little while, like a 4 to 6 happy hour type thing. And then like maybe from 5:15 to 6, we'll play some music and, share some songs. My good buddy Mike Vasquez, who's an excellent guitar player, will be joining me. He's coming in from Austin. And we're just going to have a good time, sign a few books and share a few stories and a few tunes. And I'm hoping, I'm trying to negotiate a deal with his manager right now, but I'm trying to get Chris Duel to be the MC of this deal. Now, he drives a hard bargain. He's got this attorney, that is demanding a high salary figure for this appearance, but we're trying to work it into where we get Chris Duel there, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
All you have to do is do what the minor league hockey team, the San Antonio Iguanas, once did at the Joe Freeman Coliseum, and that is pay me in beer. True story. I was a mascot for the San Antonio Iguanas. They did not have a budget to pay me, but they said, Chris, we can't pay you, but you can have all the beer you can drink during the hockey match. So it was the first time I was ever paid in beer, and it was a great memory, Bill. But no, I of course, Bill, I'm honored. I would love to be there. I will be there. It's going to be great. And as we get closer, we'll continue to talk about it.
And I should really thank our mutual friend, Lucinda Sullivan, has really helped me kind of arrange this deal with the Barn Door. So thanks to her, because she's kind of helping organize all of this.
Lucinda Sullivan, friend of the show. We often see her on the live video feed. In fact, saw her earlier this morning. So a thank you and a shout out to Lucinda Sullivan. Once again, save the date. Was that June 2nd, Bill? Do I have that right?
Thursday night, afternoon, 4 to 6, little happy hour kind of a deal.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to memorize that so I won't have to ask you next time, but we'll talk about it next time we speak. Bill Schoening, outstanding, great baseball call and great analysis of the NBA as always. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Shannon.
All right, Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. Coming up, a man who has been very opinionated about the Spurs and all of sports over the years. How does he feel about the Peter J. Holt letter to the city of San Antonio? I don't know yet. We booked him without knowing his opinion. Fasten your seatbelts. You never know what you're going to get with the always insightful, always entertaining Walter PASACRITA. Wally joins us next. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok makes the show go till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. All right. Bill is always outstanding. I'm going to give Jeremy a backup number for Walter. So I think we're calling him on his home number. And I think I do have a backup number. All right. All right, I'm going to walk this in. I'll walk this into Jeremy real quick. right, let me check this. I don't yet, and I need one. And I better hurry. And I still have to check an email here. Let me double check here that I don't have. So I know we've had Walter on before. All right, let me try to get one. Got to move fast if I'm going to do this. That was a good idea, John. I didn't have it. There you go, by request. What is the Walter theme song, John? I can't always pull up. New York, New York. Very funny. See, on my screen, when you send a YouTube, I don't see what you see there on the Facebook page. I'm looking at the StreamYard screen, which doesn't give me a preview of the YouTube that you send. Jeremy's getting ready to call Walter. I got to save this here. One. Jason Paniagua, knowing that Wally is a Kenny Loggins fan. Very nice, sir. Very funny, John Williams. That's a good question. I'm afraid to know the answer. He's good? Cool, thanks. Here we come. Woo! The house is about to rock. It always rocks when Walter PASACRITA is involved. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok makes the show go. And this Spurs story, most recently involving the letter released yesterday by Spurs Sports and Entertainment Chairman Peter J. Holt, emphasizing and reinforcing the Spurs aren't going anywhere. I would say the majority of Spurs fans go, yeah, okay, that's cool. I get it. Some are saying, no. This is, somebody said to me, tweeted to me, I'm sure the Seattle Supersonics got the same letter. They wound up moving to Oklahoma City. And somebody tweeted me, this is what an owner says supporting a coach not long before he fires the coach. So we wanted to hear from Walter PASACRITA, longtime radio broadcaster in the San Antonio area, covering the Spurs for years and years and years. Walter PASACRITA, how are you doing this morning?
Pleasure. How are you, bud?
I am good. Where do you fall on this quote-unquote Spurs controversy? Are you convinced now after the Peter J. Holt letter, nothing to worry about here, nothing to see, the Spurs are sticking around for a long time, or are you one of those who is suspicious that something may be underway?
No, I'm not suspicious. You have to be, and there's plenty of people that are cynical, but you got to be really cynical to still think that the Spurs are, figuring out a way to get out of San Antonio. Now, listen, they may be trying to figure out a way to get a new arena, that kind of thing, but that letter should quiet everybody down. And also, the Spurs didn't need to they didn't need to send out a letter. The Spurs don't owe San Antonio anything, and San Antonio doesn't owe the Spurs anything either, but they didn't need to send out a letter yesterday. They didn't have to do that, but they did that, and which is interesting to me because, the Spurs answering to speculation? When has that ever happened? And frankly, when have the Spurs ever been transparent about anything? So I thought it was a very, very interesting thing yesterday with that letter.
Well, Wally, what message would you have for the fans who see that letter and still speculate? How do you convince them otherwise that them moving is not happening?
Well, I think to me, it's pretty obvious what they're doing. First of all, they allowed Dell to buy a piece of the franchise, and Dell is located in Austin, is it not? So why wouldn't they then play in Austin? I think that makes total sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is why are they playing at the Alamo Dome? Why would that make any sense?
I mean, they're already here. Why play at the Alamo Dome? Are they really thinking they're going to get 35,000 in there in the Alamo Dome for a regular season game? That's not going to happen. 35,000 for an NBA Finals game at the Alamo Dome. They're not going to pack the house for a regular season game against the Sacramento Kings in February at some point. So that I don't quite understand. But to go into Austin, which gives the Spurs fan all the angst in the world. Why are they going to Austin? They're going to move to Austin. I mean, having Dell as part of your ownership group now makes perfect sense why they would play at Austin.
Talking with Walter PASACRITA. Now, Walter, Jeremy had an interesting theory this morning for us about this letter from Peter J. Holt that it might be to really, really reassure Spurs fans, we love you. And he did say, I love you in the letter. We're sticking around for the long haul. We're here. But Jeremy is concerned it might be a preface to a big announcement that might otherwise freak out Spurs fans. And his theory is it could be the announcement that Coach Greg Popovich is retiring and there will be a coaching change. Now, over the years, you've had many great conversations, interviews with Greg Popovich. He's poked fun at you. He's had fun with you. What are your thoughts on
great conversations?
Well, great as far as Pop with a reporter. Well, I just want to you've paid close attention to Pop. You've been up close and personal with Pop. You've been disparaged by Pop playfully. What do you think Pop is saying? Why do you think, first of all, Becky Hammond left. If Becky knew Pop was going to move on, she might have stuck around. How much longer do you think Pop sticks around as head coach?
I got no idea at this point. I thought he was leaving, 5 years ago. So I don't know when he's going to, it's going to hit him that it's time to go. I don't know. He certainly sounds like he had a lot of fun this past season with these young guys. I don't know. To speculate about when he's leaving, I think, it's going to make us all look foolish again. I don't know when he's going to leave. I mean, when at this point, it's already made sense in the past for him to retire. But when does it make sense now for him to retire? I don't see that window of opportunity for him. Hey, this makes sense. Pop announces he retires. If he says it tomorrow, that wouldn't make any sense to me. It's made sense a couple of years back, but not now. So I don't know when he's going to hang it up.
With the Spurs not in the playoffs, Wally, are you paying attention? And who do you like to win it all this year?
I am paying attention. I think the playoffs have been pretty good with the exception of last night, as you guys mentioned, the two blowouts. But you know what I think? And the ratings have gone up, obviously, for the NBA playoffs has been out there. I think what we're seeing now is not only the game's competitive, each one of these teams has a charismatic star on their team, whether it's the Bucks and Giannis, or the Warriors and Steph, and the Grizzlies and John Morant, and the Celtics with Tatum. They all have these stars on there that are fun to watch. All the stars are fun to watch. You don't always get that, and so I think that's why the games are entertaining. That's all there is to it. But for me, I thought it was pretty clear that it was going to be the Warriors and the Suns in the West, banging heads in the conference finals. And then I thought the East was up for grabs all along. And I still think that that's the case. It could be, you could still have the Sixers in the conference finals, and it could still be Boston. You could flip a coin. So I still think the East is very undecided, but it's pretty clear that it's the Suns, at least to me it is, anyway, the Suns and the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals.
Walter PASACRITA with us. Wally, 24 hours ago, a little over, it was in the 8 o'clock hour yesterday when the Tom Brady news broke. Tom Brady, at the end of his career, we now know, will have a gig as a football analyst on Fox Sports. He will replace, now we can see, Troy Aikman as their lead football analyst. Your thoughts on Tommy Touchdown, Tom Brady, the GOAT, as a football analyst? How do you think this will work out, and why do you think Brady chose this?
Well, first of all, the fact that Brady's on Fox is a good thing for me personally. because I never have to see him because he's not going to be doing my Jets game. That's good news as far as I'm concerned. I guess, I was hoping that Brady would have retired 10 years ago and we'd never have to hear from him again. But unfortunately, he's decided to stick around and win on top of it. So, it makes my stomach turn, even the mention of Tom Brady. But he goes to Fox after he retires. They're paying him a whole boatload of money, which I can't understand. I've never, ever, ever tuned in a football game to hear the analyst or the play-by-play guy. It doesn't matter to me, and I don't think it matters to most people. So I don't understand why they pay these guys so much money to broadcast these games. So as far as that's concerned, that's the way I see it. As far as what kind of job he'll do, Tom Brady will be fine. But you don't know normally. It might be Giselle who will be better off as the analyst because we've heard Giselle be very critical of teammates of his and other players. So maybe it's Giselle that should be in the analyst chair, not Brady.
But Giselle maybe in the booth with him might not be a horrible idea. Finally, Walter, Jason Paniagua on our live video feed, you did mention the Jets. You are a lifelong New York Jets fan. Jason asks, what's Wally's view of the Jets this coming year? Are they going to make you feel good or are they going to tear your heart out once again?
Well, listen, they have better personnel on the team than they've had in quite some time. But as we all know, it's all going to depend on the quarterback and whether he, grows up here in year number 2. We'll see. But that's going to be where their success is born. Whether he can continue to grow and get better as he did last season. He started off slow. He got hurt. He came back and he played well. If he continues to do that, it continues to grow, the Jets could be challenging for a playoff spot. They have a lot of talent on that team, more so than they've had in a long time, as I mentioned. But the quarterback has got to lead them there, and we'll see if they can get that done.
And finally, Wally, on our live video feed, we have a photo up of you right now. You're enjoying a cocktail, a cigar, or a cigarette, and you are wearing a Wally's Deli T-shirt, Wally's Deli food truck. What's the latest on Wally's Deli food truck, and how can people sample your cuisine?
Wally's Deli food truck continues to roll. Tonight, if you'd like to partake, the truck will be parked at the Redland Heights HOA in front, basically right in front of their entrance there on Redland Road. So come on, check it out.
Always great sandwiches, great food, and you get to hang out with Wally and talk with Wally a little bit at Wally's Deli food truck. Walter PASACRITA, always entertaining and insightful, and you're occasionally opinionated, we've learned over the years. Thanks for taking the time, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, folks. Have a good one.
All right, Walter PASACRITA. He is on Twitter at SA Radio Boy. He's a great follow on Twitter at SA Radio Boy. Now, Wally said something, Shannon, that I disagree with, but we were short on time, so I wasn't going to fight him on. He said he never tunes in, for an analyst. I mean, I do that for Romo. I do that on TNT for the panel show with Shaq and Kenny the Jet Smith and Charles Barkley and Ernie, and I will do that for Tom Brady. So I am certainly in that category.
Yeah, I don't know that I tune in for a specific analyst, but I'll definitely tune out if someone's bothering me.
So who bothers you? Are you a Chris Collinsworth hater like so many other people?
Bill Walton.
Oh, come on.
We've known this, Chris. We know this about me. I can't handle him.
If Bill Walton did a middle school basketball game, I would lock in.
Yeah, Katie Nolan on Apple TV Plus. Luckily, the Astros are on ESPN Plus this Friday, not Apple TV.
I've heard she was. Okay. We didn't get to winning time again. Like we'll have to do that tomorrow, Shannon. We just had too much to cover.
Well, for those that haven't watched it yet, it'll allow them to get into the swing of things, so we don't spoil anything for them.
Yeah, we highly recommend it. Shannon, great job again from Houston. So I hope you can find tonight's Astros game if possible, on the big tube.
Yeah, here's hoping.
All right. Jeremy Kolok, tremendous job as always. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Same time tomorrow.
Same time tomorrow. Bang up job. 21 hours from now, our big Throwback Thursday show. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame tomorrow. Andy Everett, a lot going on. A big golf story today involving Saudi Arabia. We didn't get to it. We'll get to it with Andy tomorrow, get his expert opinion. Our thanks to Bill Schoening. Our thanks to Walter PASACRITA. Have yourself a great Wednesday. Adios, amigos. Louisa, I love Bill Walton. He is entertaining. He is a national treasure. He's funny. He's deep. He's insightful. He's quirky. He's a madman. He's a Hall of Famer. That's okay. I don't have to be in the majority on these opinions. Jason Paniagua, thank you. All right, y'all. We are out of here. Our thanks to Walter PASACRITA and Bill Schoening. There goes Jeremy. I guess I'll take down Walter. Thank you, Walter. Let's see. Mark your calendar, June 2nd, the barn door in the late afternoon, early evening for Bill Schoening's book signing. And go Astros. Go for 9 in a row tonight at Minnesota. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.